Hello, I'm Jason Stanton. It is Friday, August 28th. This is my morning musing. I serve First Lutheran in Onalaska, Wisconsin, and I have been thinking about conflict. That's what I've been musing about. It's something we've all become pretty familiar with on smaller scales and on a big, large scale. As within our own state, we've got the tragedies in Kenosha. We're in the middle of a presidential campaign, and so there's lots of ideological conflict. There's been a lot of conflict locally about how schools or how churches like ours should or should not open. And amidst all the different conflicts, I've got a couple ideas, and it's made me think about what are the biggest conflicts that I have ever experienced. And I remember when I was in high school, early 90s, we were asked by the Attorney General of Wisconsin to change our high school's nickname. We were the Red Raiders. And there was a lot of conflict in our town and among our student body about whether we should do that or what we should change it to. I remember skipping school as a senior for one afternoon to go golfing, and it created conflict between my parents and myself. They were not impressed. And conflict within myself. I remember sitting on a jury. I think I was 2 years into my ministry in Cashton, and I got summoned to sit on a jury in Sparta. And I remember it was not a cut and dry case, which apparently very few are, where it's like, oh, of course he did or she did not. And when we got into that jury room, there was conflict. How do you resolve that so that the 12 of you can agree? In the very first year I was a pastor, the ELCA, our denomination, was talking about sexuality in general, homosexuality in particular, but we were also creating a statement about sexuality in general. There was conflict about whether we should be talking about this, and if we were going to talk about it, what we should be saying about it. And then, of course, other conflict I could think of, I'm married. So in marriage, there are almost always conflicts, and like deep, for us anyway, like personality stuff where I'm not just in conflict with her, but with myself. Like, what kind of person am I that I did this again to us? So some of these that I've thought of have been individual one-on-one conflicts. Some have been more group, almost cultural conflicts. And I was thinking about, so how do we usually resolve conflict? You know, this is every premarital conversation I've ever led with a couple includes talking about conflict resolution. Well, how we teach conflict resolution and how I've experienced the resolution of conflict is, think about those. The name change for my high school mascot or nickname. We all sat in a big room and people took turns at a microphone. When I skipped school, my parents and we sat around a dinner table and we talked about it. When I sat on that jury, we sat around a big table and we talked about it, each taking turns, talking about why they felt the way they felt. That sexuality conversation that the 3 Point parish in Cashton had, that was a big room where people took turns at a microphone, asking questions, sharing experiences. And then in my own marriage, when we have disagreements, we typically have those disagreements on a couch, face to face. Conflict gets resolved when we take the time to be with each other and to listen to each other. We can't just do all the talking. Which brings me to why I think conflict doesn't really get resolved anymore. We just settle into our corners. Now we don't listen, we just post at each other. We just post memes and we say things that we'd never say in person. I mean, the level of aggression that gets used on Facebook and social media, it feels to me, being a pastor in the social media age, I feel sometimes like I'm a teacher on a playground, that see, teachers at playgrounds, they're responsible for making sure the kids are playing fair. And once you see one kid hit another, or take advantage of another, or not include another, or just bully another, that's when the teacher steps in. I feel like as a pastor, I mean, I'm friends with so many people who are including me in their conversations that are completely inappropriate and unhelpful to themselves and to the person they're yelling at or pointing out or shaming or whatever. I mean, if I saw somebody at the grocery store speaking to someone as people speak to each other online, I should say something, right? Kind of like the teacher on the playground. I mean, imagine being on a jury and just walking in with a sign that was like, if you think this person is not guilty, you're an idiot. Vote with me. That's not how you get people to come to your side, by calling them names. Or if in a disagreement I had with Carla, I sit down on the couch, and instead of listening to her point of view and perspective and feelings, what if I just sat down with a piece of paper and was like, you're wrong, I'm right. Persuaded yet? That's what a lot of our posts sound like. And so we're just talking past each other. Last night I saw a post that said, I pray this world finds God again. And I thought about that. I thought, it's Thursday evening, just so you know. It's one of these thunderstorms that's popping up. I'm sure it'll be fine. But I pray this world finds God again. And what it made me think was, I think the way we're going to find God again is by finding each other again. And the way to find each other is by listening to each other. We need to stop just posting past each other or memeing past each other, hoping that our passive-aggressive name-calling and shaming lands with somebody. Because you can just block that. I mean, you get that from somebody enough and you just block them. And then you just become siloed into hearing and seeing the same thing you're already thinking. And that's not how conflict gets resolved. I mean, how long are we just going to sit in our corners and brood in our disagreements before we do the work of finding each other? Because we care about each other, because we know the other has been created in the image of God and is worth listening to and worth knowing. That's my prayer. My prayer is for you to use this social media world to actually connect with people rather than divide yourselves against people even more deeply. So blessings on your efforts to use your social media to connect.